to come, waiting for us to communicate with him. And this part is deeply personal. Sometimes it might be private, but it is there in your life in order that you would have something to contribute, something to share within the body, within your local fellowship, and also something to share with those who don't yet know the Lord. This is fellowship. I want to talk about the importance of fellowship in the body. Sam Nadler says that the body of Messiah refers to the eternal spiritual relationship that you now have with every other believer in Yeshua, the Messiah, because he is head of the body, and the believers are various parts of that body. Therefore, our fellowship with one another is an expression of our experience of functioning as a body under one direction, under the head who is the Messiah. Ephesians 4:15-16. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in all ways into Messiah, who is the head. From him, the whole body is fitted, held together by every supporting ligament. The proper working of each individual produces the body's growth, building itself up in love. Here we have the body of Messiah pictured as a human body, with each one of us functioning as a different part. And when we function in the body, we contribute to the whole. And this causes us to grow in the Lord and to grow in love. And here's the thing, brothers and sisters. When you grow, and I was thinking about an analogy of this. So when you grow pots in your house of plants, or even in your garden, let's take the pot that you put on your windowsill. What does it need? Well, that's obvious. You need a pot. You need some soil, maybe a little bit of fertilizer thrown in, a bit of plant food. You need some seeds, and then the other two essentials, sunlight and water. So I'm going to over-spiritualize my little plant pot for a moment and say this. You are the seed that is going to be planted in the pot. The word of God is your soil. It's going to nourish you, sustain you. The Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, is the water that will cause you to grow. And of course, Yeshua, who is the sun in heaven, is your sunlight. And here's the challenge. If the word of God is your soil and it causes you to grow, it will only do so if you, 1, learn the word, 2, live the word, and 3, share the word. Rav Shaul explains that the body of Messiah can only grow when we work together. That means that everyone is an active participant in the life of the body of Messiah. That means that everyone must be a participant, not a spectator. Shabbat service is not meant to be a spectator sport. Even if you are silent and your voice is not heard in public, your voice in here should be lifted up and rising up to God. You should be agreeing with the prayers, agreeing with the scriptures, maybe jotting things into the chat, commenting, sharing. And in that way, you are ministering to one another. Let me give you an example. I think I mentioned earlier this morning to those who arrived early that we've just gone ahead and I'm going to hit the button today and purchase a whole bunch of sound equipment. What we've had's been on loan. And we are going to get a soundboard that's even better than the one I've got. We're going to get proper in-ear headphones for sound monitoring. We're going to get good microphones. We are going to have a very professional setup, and that's going to need people other than me to be trained on the board, because I can't do everything. I don't want to do everything. I want you guys to participate, to contribute. So we're going to have a training session, and we're going to invite David Miller, a friend, to come and teach us how to use the soundboard. And then week by week on Shabbat, different people can take a turn at contributing to the life of the body. This will be preparation for when we have our own venue. And I hope you're all praying and you're not just waiting for Fiona to say, oh, by the way, we've now got a venue. Listen, the door to a venue is only going to open if we in prayer push it open. When we in prayer cry out to God and say, Lord, we want to meet, provide us the place, give us a home where we can grow. And in that way, you are contributing not only to the present life of the body, but to the future life of the body. Your prayers will result in blessing. So please remember, 19th of July, there's going to be a discussion on the possibility of renting a hall. Now, this is an example of how the body contributes to the process, because I've asked Simon at CPM, my colleague, to speak on our behalf. Now, your part is to pray that the Lord's will be done. And in the meantime, I'll go and look at another couple of venues this week. But nothing's going to happen until the Lord opens the door and makes a way for us. This is another practical example of how we work together to contribute to the life of Messiah in the Kehillah, in our congregation. Let me give you another example. Dig, dig, dig. Friday night meetings. How many of you who are online could actually come in person? If you can, I really wish you would. And I know that's very blunt, and I can't force anybody to come, but I would love you to come. Why? Because we are a Messianic group meeting in a cafe in the heart of a most Jewish area in northwest London. We together as the body of Messiah are functioning as a prophetic sign. And Jewish people hear us. Last night we had Shabbat candles burning at 3 tables, and we worshipped so loudly that people stopped watching the football. Well, the people we didn't want to be there got up and left. We had the cafe to ourselves. The Lord met with us. We felt the Lord fill the place as he filled our hearts. This meeting is a public testimony of our Messianic faith in Israel's promised Messiah, who's come in the person of Yeshua and is going to come again in glory. Can you contribute to this? Your contribution shouldn't only be monetary. It should be outworking in practical terms. Anyway, enough said about that. But fellowship serves another purpose, a purpose other than worship, a purpose other than us growing in love. You need to turn to the book of Hebrews and turn to Hebrews chapter 3, verse 12 to 14. That's Hebrews 3, 12 to 14. There's a warning here. Take care, brothers and sisters, that none of you has an evil heart of unbelief that falls away from the living God. But encourage one another day by day, as long as it is still called today, so that none of you may be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. For we have become, listen to this, partners of Messiah, if we hold to the original conviction firm until the end. And I love this. John Piper says, you are God's appointed means to keep your brother or sister from falling away or from falling into sin. You see, the writer gives a warning. Take care that you do not develop a heart of unbelief that falls away, but rather you were to encourage one another. In other words, build one another up in our holy faith, in our calling. Because if we allow people to fall away from the meeting, if we don't encourage one another, they may be hardened. They may not journey to the end of the race. I'll turn over now to Hebrews chapter 10, because I want to show you something else. I'm going to read from verses 23 to 25. So let us draw near with a true heart, in full assurance of faith, with hearts that are sprinkled clean from an evil conscience, and washed with pure water. Let us hold fast to the unwavering confession of hope, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how to stir one another up to love and to good deeds, to mitzvot. And do not neglect your own meetings, as is the habit of some, but encourage one another, all the more so as you see the day approaching. In these verses, there are 3 words of encouragement. Let us draw near, let us hold fast, let us consider. It reminds me of 3 things that Rav Shaul says in 1 Corinthians 13:13. So now faith, hope, and love abide, these 3, but the greatest of all is love. So we're told, and you see it's us, each time it is us, not you, when you draw near. It says, let us draw near. Firstly, in verse 22, with a true heart, in full assurance of faith, let us hold fast to what? Our confession, our hope that we have. And then let us consider how to stir one another up in love. We draw near in faith, we hold fast in hope, and we stimulate to love. It's Paul, Rav Shaul's 3 things. You draw near in faith, you hold fast in hope, and you stimulate to love. Faith, hope, and love. These 3, the greatest is love. Now here's the thing. Before you can stir one another up to mitzvot, to the good deeds that the Lord God has prepared for you in advance, you can't do it unless you're holding fast to your hope, to your faith, because it's that faith that allows you to draw near to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, that you might be strengthened, so that you can hold on to your hope in the midst of difficult days, or difficult circumstances or troubles. And it is this hope, this time in God's presence, that will equip you to stir one another up, to give you something to share the way we've been doing this morning, hearing from one another's hearts. It's really interesting in this passage, book of Hebrews, that there is a connection between stirring one another up to good deeds and meeting together. And there's a command there, do not forsake the congregation. So in the midst of the word of encouragement, there is a warning not to neglect meeting together. Why? Because the day is drawing near. We are going to need one another. And what I absolutely love about this word is the Greek word here for the congregation is not church. It's not ecclesia. It is, guess what? They've made a verb out of the noun synagogue. So we are not to neglect to synagogue together. Isn't that brilliant? So those of us who are Messianic Jews were going, yes, we are meant to not forsake